After seeing the manufacturing process of Japanese surveillance equipment, I finally understand why Japan invests so heavily in surveillance. Just for a single pair of surveillance headphones, they use high-purity precious metals. Its minimum error can be controlled to within 1/1000th of a millimeter. No wonder even Musk says, Japan is the epicenter of surveillance equipment. Today, we're visiting the Japanese subsidiary of the American company Molex. We'll take a look at what makes a $3,000 pair of headphones so special. The metal you see on screen is the primary material used, magnesium aluminum alloy. This material isn't produced in most countries, mainly due to technical limitations and high costs. It's often used in avionics and the military. Therefore, it's also known as a noble metal. The first step in making high-fidelity headphones. The worker first cuts the raw material with high precision. Then they open the protective cover. They take out a micrometer and measure the inner diameter. Although the machine tool uses CNC cutting, every part is measured repeatedly. This is a comparison image after cutting. The shiny surface appears flawless, and the other part has been machined. Now let's take a look at the machining results of its head wheel. The edges look pretty smooth. Now, starting the second round of cutting. Closing the safety guard and turning on the device to cool down the magnesium aluminum alloy. The factory adds a large amount of cutting fluid during the machining process. Such a large amount of fluid is used. This is very rare in machining. Then I fasten it to another aluminum plate, and I take out the small screws I prepared earlier. I install them evenly in the jig's inner holes. Then I tighten them all with a screwdriver. This prevents displacement and misalignment during cutting. The jig installation is now complete. Now I'll begin the most difficult machining process. Not only do I have to cut an extremely precise inner hole, but I also have to finish the edges finer than a hair. In the blink of an eye, it's cut and shaped. This is also the final round of cutting. Although it's only a few seconds on screen, in reality, just this process took a solid several tens of minutes. This is the supporting skeleton of the earphones. These are all the cutting shapes of the metal, from raw material to finished product. Now, we move on to the second step, making the magnets. We can see the workers placing metal rings onto a tray. These are the basic raw materials for magnets. Most magnets are permanent magnets. Let's take a look at a small experiment. When the worker places the screw on the metal ring, screws can't stick to metal surfaces on their own. To turn them into magnets, I need to activate this magnetizer. Once the machine is powered with high voltage current, the workers quickly place the metal rings onto the magnetizing fixture. Then they tighten them together. Now, let's start magnetizing. When I press the pedal, the current makes the electrons in the magnet flow from the positive terminal to the negative terminal along with the current. This causes an electron transfer, which magnetizes the magnet. Let's take a look at the change now. When I place the metal, the screw is naturally attracted to it. At this point, the magnet in the headphones is complete. Now, onto the third step of the process, pressing the diaphragm. That's this thin, for paper-like metal sheet you see here. First, I place it on the stamping platform. It has to be completely smooth, no wrinkles. Then I close and lock the safety door. Let's take a look at the pressing process. After pressing down, the two will become one. Then, he slowly removes it. You can see the worker is being very careful during this step. He then takes it to the front to be placed in a box. At this point, the diaphragm is basically formed. Next comes the fourth process. First, we see the main components. He places the outer ring magnet onto the jig and presses it down until it's secure. Then I'll snap the inner magnet into place. Next, I'll prepare the headphone stand. This is the magnesium aluminum alloy from earlier. Now it's turned black. I'll place it on the mounting bracket. Now I'll apply the glue. One circle inside, one circle outside, aligning with the magnet. When these two combine, it will firmly stick to the magnet. Then I snap the bracket onto the magnet. I position it carefully, lift it slowly, and then tighten it gradually. Then I place it on a flat surface and start to reinforce it. The reinforcement process looks quite unique. First, I put the cover on top. Then I slowly tighten the two screws. I set it aside to dry slowly. Now, step 5 of the process. Installing the diaphragm. Compared to the diaphragm on ordinary headphones, this one looks quite unique. This is also the biggest difference between studio headphones and regular headphones. Studio headphones are mainly for high fidelity. They reproduce sound more accurately. The sound quality is essentially uncolored. For example, timbre rendering. Studio headphones don't have this capability. This is also the main reason why studio headphones are expensive. But if you use them to listen to music, the effect might not be as good as a pair costing a few hundred yuan. It's mainly because the application scenarios are different. Let's take a look at the effect after compression. Entering the sixth step of the process, assembly. The magnet seems to be securely attached. The bracket is also in place. I'm starting to install the diaphragm. This is the piece I pressed earlier. I've just trimmed the outer ring. Now, I'll secure the edge of the mainboard with screws. Then I'll place it on the magnet and align all the screw holes. Then I'll secure both sides with the clamp. Now I'll start tightening the screws. This step is obviously very important. Even the screws are tightened with such precision. No wonder they say you get what you pay for. With this meticulous craftsmanship, surpassing 80% of my competitors shouldn't be a problem. Next, I'll plug in the wires. A professional worker listens to the sound effects again. Now, we enter the seventh step of the process, assembly. After the accessories are prepared, they are placed on the jig. Next, I prepare two mysterious materials, cardboard. Let's just call it cardboard. Do you know what this is for? It prevents scratches. To prevent scratching the metal surface during installation. This process, would you call it painstakingly slow, or their craftsmanship? One thing's for sure. This is definitely not a piecework job. In the blink of an eye, the screws are installed. Now, let's begin installing the head bow. It's the part that clamps onto your head. First, snap it onto the surface. Then, press it in with the other clip. After that, tighten it securely with the screws. Now, one side of the headphones is assembled. Let's assemble the other side. The main function of monitor headphones is for use in certain specific locations. For example, military or civilian use. Civilian use is mainly in recording studios and TV stations, dubbing rooms or radio stations. Those of you who work in broadcasting should be familiar with this. As for military use, it's even more widespread. For example, submarines have them. It's just that theirs are more expensive. In the blink of an eye, it had already taken the concrete form of headphones. I'll wipe it down again with a wet wipe. And I'll clean all the crevices with a cotton swab. Now let's take a look at some specific applications for this thing. Pick it up with both hands and gently place it on my head. It has a price tag of $3,000. For these monitor headphones, what do you think would be a good use for them?